would still stand even if we accepted and approved of this deal. Because we wouldn't, look, when you have, okay, hey, Iran, now you agreed to this deal, so we want to come in and inspect. Okay. But you can only do it, my friend, in about 24 days. Because we have to prepare. We have to hide. Clean up. Make sure all facilities are able to accept you. So basically, it's nearly a month. It's 3 weeks. Now, I don't care who you are. In about 3 weeks, you can pretty much hide just about anything. You can clean up just about anything. Oh, no, they can't hide that much. We'll still be able to see it. No, you won't. Not to mention, they don't have to disclose, evidently, from what I understand of this deal, they don't have to disclose every single facility that they have that's capable of producing, nuclear material. So if they have places that we don't know about, what are we going to do when we find one? Hey, Khomeini, we saw one of your some new facility. That is old. That does not work. It is an old facility. Okay, we want to inspect it. Okay, in 24 days. So it doesn't matter. Even if we find a new facility, there's nothing in there that says, okay, well, first of all, you got to tell us every single facility that you got. And if we catch you cheating, that we get to go in there right away, not give you that 3-week window. No, they still can say, well, okay, we got 3 weeks. We'll clean it up and show you that it doesn't, it's inoperable. We'll move everything out in 3 weeks. And trust me, if that's what they want to do, they have the ability and the manpower to work 24/7 to do that. And I think the American people understand that, which is why only 14% surveyed believe that. I don't know. Maybe that's 14%, the 14%. Well, obviously the 10% of that is going to be the diehard that's, fringe. Each side of the political aisle has about 10% diehard that's going to believe anything and everything that their side tells them. So, you can always whitewash that. 10% on each side. 10. But there's still 4% or 5% that for some reason believe that, the U.S. came out on top. I don't know how that's possible. But, yeah. And they believe that Obama is right, and this will prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon for at least several, at least, instead of forever, but for several years, which he said the only option other than going to war. So I guess in several years, then we get to go to war. So we're postponing war, I guess, by a few years. I thought the whole point was not to kick everything down. See, there are certain things that you just cannot kick down the road. You can't kick war down the road. Somebody's going to have to go to war if that's all you're doing. If you're not solving the issue or the problem, then somebody eventually is going to have to go to war. Now, the poll also found that Mr. Obama's recent boast that he could win a third term to be, shall we say, hubris. Just 26% of voters said they would vote for him to be reelected, while 68% said they'd find somebody else. Even among Democrats, just 53% said that they'd embrace a third term. Mr. Obama's approval rating also slipped to 45% compared with 50% disapproval. Now, as we know, historically speaking, nobody has ever been elected to the White House with a disapproval rating of 50% or higher. No, and that's not good news for Hillary. What is her disapproval numbers right now? They're approaching 60%, right? Or is it over? Was it 64% that I saw? I don't know. Well, let me see if I can find it. Her disapproval rating at the moment is now. See, this is what you're able to do on the fly. Unfavorable numbers. And let's go to this one. See, you can see I'm doing this. Well, you can't see, but you can hear I'm doing this. Her favorable numbers are the highest they've been in 14 years. And she's 54% unfavorable right now. That's not a good thing for her. Not a good thing. So she can't. Well, I shouldn't say that. She can't be elected with a disapproval of 54%. After all, she is a Democrat, and she is a Clinton, and they're very good at, escaping the reality of things and making whatever they want to happen actually happen. But Obama's disapproval rate is at 50%. So at this particular juncture, if he were to be able to run for a third term, he might be primaried right out. Bernie Sanders might be able to beat him in a primary. Although, speaking of Bernie Sanders, now I actually wasn't even going to cover this, but speaking of Bernie Sanders, I find it extremely interesting that Bernie Sanders, of all people, was basically taken off his stage by Black Lives Matter people. I'm looking at the story on this, and I'm watching the video, and I'm thinking, that did not just happen. The world has completely flipped upside down. Now, and then Bernie went and did something utterly, I think it's utterly stupid. Because, people are going to, African Americans are going to see right through it. He went out and hired himself another press secretary, a black female. And that's not going to... this is why the guy is out of touch. He doesn't get it. He obviously thinks that, I kind of got booed off my own stage here by Black Lives Matter because they don't think I understand. So I'm going to go out and hire myself a black female press secretary who's going to go out there and tell people that I understand. And as if Democrat, liberal African Americans are going to... So that is not going to fly. Because if they're already targeting you, if Black Lives Matter, BLM is already targeting you and knocking you out, if two black women are able to knock you off the stage because they're from Black Lives Matter, then hiring a single black female press secretary is not going to change their positions, Bernie. I'm sorry. They're all into this white supremacy stuff. Maybe we are slightly post-racial. Maybe we're not as racist as they said we were. We're not, as a nation, we're not as racist as the left says that we were. But so in order to sort of hold on to this racism type of stuff and still have race baiters like Al Sharpton be relevant, they had to come up with a new term. White supremacy. Now, maybe whites really aren't really overtly racist anymore, but they have this supreme type of mentality that thinks that they're still the kings of everything. So there is this this new notion, this new term of white supremacist. Or white supremacy, not supremacy, because white supremacist would be, like the KKK, but they're not going that direction of like the KKK. They're just saying that because, obviously, the vast majority of Americans do not identify with, racist groups like the KKK or the skinheads or neo-Nazis or what have you. So they wouldn't be able to get anywhere by saying that, regular everyday Americans are like the KKK. Maybe back in the 30s or something, they'd be able to get away with that, but not today, especially having elected Obama to the White House twice. So that wouldn't fly. So they have to come up with something new, and they came up with this term, white supremacy. Meaning that, yeah, maybe they're not so racist anymore, but don't you doubt for an instant that whites still want to be on top and be in the ruling class. That's what the whole race supremacy thing is about. Not white supremacist, but white supremacy. You see the play on the words there? Well, that's it. And of course, that's also really a bunch of bunk. Because, well, I mean, the Black Lives Matter group and those who support the belief in white supremacy, the reason why they're saying that this really does exist is because whites are very scared about losing their majority hold on this country. Because, hey, we've been told over and over again that by the year 2050 or 2040 or something like that whites will be a real numerical minority in this country, and that all the minorities will outnumber the whites, and that by I think 2060 or 2070 or something like that Latino, Hispanic heritage people will then become the new white group, I guess, because they're just growing so fast. So even legally, so I guess. At some point, we're gonna have to transfer our hatred and racist and bigoted views away from whites, because they're going to be in the minority and they're not going to have much power and they're not going to have much in the way of numbers, and we're going to have to transfer that to the Latinos because they're going to have all the numbers, which means that they're going to start, electing Latinos who are going to then have all the power. So then I guess at that point it'll be Latino supremacy, right? Well, that's only logical. So for the race baiters, they got to continue this type of race baiting stuff. So look, don't doubt me on this. That this is how they're going to try to continue this kind of stuff. Is simply by changing who the group in power is. That's just it. But anyway, voters are pretty much not falling for and if you were to actually show Obama the numbers, and you were to show him unequivocally that, Mr. President, if you ran for a third term, you definitely would not win. He would not believe it. He would be out there saying, well, hey, that's because I'm not out there campaigning. And if I got out there and that's what I was talking about. If I got out there and campaigned, because my numbers are still high enough that if I got out there and campaigned, everybody would believe me again. And I'd easily win third term because I'd be out there campaigning. Well, the problem is with that type of mentality and that thought, Mr. President, is that you've never stopped campaigning. You're still campaigning. You're not governing. You're still campaigning. So you actually getting on the road to campaign isn't really going to help you all that much because you've never stopped campaigning. And I think a lot of people have finally caught up to that fact because, hey, you're in Washington. You're the president, and none of this stuff is your fault. I think Americans are trying to scratch their head. Really, none of this is your fault? How is that possible? You're out there talking about that you're still fighting against the GOP, and you're still fighting for the middle class and the lower class and the poor people and that kind of stuff. You're still how is that possible? You're in the thick of it. You're the one that's helping to create policy that the entire country is beholden to. And none of that is your fault? Well, I think the American people really can, once they get all this racism stuff out of their head, they can really smell and see BS. And they see it now and smell it.